Let's face it, guys. The black sector of the internet is really concerned with interracial dating, especially black women, and a lot of content from black female creators, especially North American based creators, really put emphasis on black women keeping their dating options open when it comes to guys of other races. You will hear clips that talk about those things like this.
Waiting on black men to see not only my worth, but their worth. It's depressing. Sorry, it's sad. It's really sad. So yes, I did date outside of my race a few times in my short 28 years of living. So I started dating in college, my junior year of college. So I was like 21 when I had my first boyfriend. I had time to like cultivate myself, which was great. So I've dated Asian men, I've dated white men, black men. Here's what I noticed when I dated outside of my race. I noticed that I felt exotic for once. You know, like I feel like my black men made me feel as though I was the bottom of the barrel, that I was run-of-the-mill, boring. And even though I look like this, like I'm pretty, this was not enough. Like this look is normal or average. Like
you also hear other clips like this.
Hey guys, I wanted to come on here and talk about this video that I saw that aired on Chicago Tonight, and it is featuring a sociologist by the name of Cheryl Judas, who wrote a book called Interracial Relationships Between Black Women and White Men, and her goal is to tell people why she believes more black women should date outside of their race. Now, while she's putting that she's encouraging black women to date outside of their race, what she's actually suggesting and encouraging black women to do is date within the dominant society specifically. And she goes on to explain why she's specifically encouraging black women to date within the dominant society. One of those reasons being that the dominant male is actually at the top of the food chain and that he has the most economic resources. So it makes sense for black women to date within the dominant society, specifically because black men are doing it.
So we get it. You know, for a lot of women, especially black women who come from other descents like Africa or the Caribbean, live in America, you know, they may feel that white men are better providers or have better opportunities in relationships because they feel like white men might not cheat as much or whatever the case may yield. Having a white partner is some form of validation for whatever the reason is that they may have. And that seemed to be the case with this beautiful lady, Jenean Chapman, because she was a successful woman that had a boyfriend turned husband by the name of James Patrick. She was actually a former aide to the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. So she had a pretty good career going, but she really loved James Patrick. Now, James Patrick was a man that was living in California, and he wanted to be next to Jenean Chapman. They were off and on for 6 years, and they finally got married. But only 2 months into their marriage, something happened. Let's check out the clip.
A man wanted for murdering a woman in downtown Dallas was caught and arrested in Austin. Investigators say 46-year-old Jenean Chapman was found dead inside an apartment in the National Building on Elm Street Monday afternoon. Her family says the suspect was an on and off boyfriend who married Chapman over the summer. Fox 4's Amelia Jones live in Dallas with the story. Amelia.
Heather, Jenean Chapman's sisters described her as fierce, loving, and ambition. Her murder blindsided them, especially since the suspect was a man who was so close to their sister.
She was an entrepreneur. She was getting ready to start her own business. So she was really ambitious, living life to the fullest, and just trying to accomplish all these different goals.
46-year-old Jenean Chapman was on track to achieve those goals. Her sisters, Nicole and Crystal Marshall, said she just started a new job and was working on starting her own business.
She was all the way around a good person. So this is the last thing that we were just completely blindsided by this.
Dallas police say Monday afternoon, officers found Chapman dead in an apartment inside the National on Elm Street in downtown Dallas. Tuesday, the medical examiner confirmed Chapman was murdered. 48-year-old James Patrick was identified as the prime suspect. Her sisters confirm the two were together on and off for 6 years.
in the last year or so, the relationship got really rocky.
Marshall says that Chapman moved from California to Texas 5 months ago, since this is Patrick's home state. The two got married in July, but the family didn't attend.
That's why I use the word blindsided, because we did not see this coming. We knew that they had arguments, and that's typical in relationships. It was a bit toxic, but we would never think it would have been taken to this extreme where my sister would ultimately lose her life.
Dallas police say Patrick was arrested by University of Texas police at a hospital on Wednesday and charged with murder. They wouldn't share why he was in the hospital.
Now, they lived on the 34th floor of a downtown apartment, and there was a phone call given that day to the police when they smelled a foul odor outside. Now, they would always hear that Mr. James Patrick and his wife Jenean Chapman would always get into explosive fights with yelling that could be heard all the way down the hallway. This happened often, and you heard what the sister said. They heard it too. And when you look at the guy, he doesn't seem like the kind of white guy who is that threatening, but looks can be deceiving. And unfortunately, this black woman died at the hands of a white man. And this isn't the only story that we've heard like that, have we?
Today, former Seahawks offensive lineman Chad Wheeler pleaded not guilty to felony domestic violence charges. Wheeler is accused of beating and choking his girlfriend unconscious in Kent. He blamed the attack on a manic episode. The prosecutor today read a statement from the victim, who says she doesn't feel safe. The statement says now Chad is out of custody, staying in a hotel, watching this play out on social media. This current status places my safety at risk, and I do not believe that a protective order or a condition of release is sufficient to keep me safe.
Do you guys remember Chad Wheeler? Chad Wheeler was a Seattle Seahawks offensive lineman who again looked harmless. But after beating Aaliyah Taylor, he beat her to a pulp. We can't even show you the photos of how she looked. She was incredibly hurt. She got beat so bad that he never even played in the NFL ever again. And not only that, when the police was trying to tackle him, it took almost 8 or 9 people to bring this guy down. And again, this is something that happens a lot, but people don't want to talk about it. Whenever Chad Wheeler beats on a black woman, no one talks about it. Or James Patrick kills a black woman, nobody talks about it. But see, what we're not dealing with is the fact that some of these white men are crazy and they have issues. And if that was a black man, those issues would be talked about. But because a person is white, well, you know what? Let's just say, there is some toxicity. They don't even want to even admit to the fact that the guy is crazy and he really just killed your sister. But this is what is happening. A lot of sisters don't realize that just because the man is white, it doesn't mean he's right. I can say the same thing about a white woman. I'll tell you the first thing like this. Just because you think the woman is a white woman and she's nice or she's from another community, that doesn't make her better than the black woman. It doesn't mean that she's not as messed up or she won't do you dirty. How many black men do we know right now in jail because a white woman said something that was false, it wasn't true, or some black man that went out to Colombia and got robbed, or he did dirty by somebody from another community? I mean, look at what Jeezy's going through with Jeannie Mai. So we need to stop being so focused on race all the time and start dealing with the person's character. You know what I mean? At least with black people, you understand what you're going to get. But a lot of these folks think that just because the person is white, that person is going to show you some respect. And no, that person is not going to show you any respect, just because you're black or because they're white. In fact, it may even give them some motivation, to be more emboldened to do things to you because you are black. And they feel like, what are you going to do about it? Again, if you're that kind of person that, like I said, you don't like dating black people and they know it, well, hey, this is a person that feels like you don't have a community, so they can do whatever they want to you. And we have to be mindful of having those conversations with people that's not from our community and stop telling them that. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Preaching for all you, do subscribe to the bell. We're out.